Good morning. This is May the 16th, Thursday, 2024, and we are in BBIS second semester class, where English class, where we, I guess, completed Priscilla Long's essay in the previous class. Did we complete? I guess we completed reading Long's essay in the previous class, right? My mouse seemed to malfunction. Just a minute. Okay. So in the previous class, we were reading Priscilla Long's essay on happiness, and we completed that essay. So before we move on to the new text, new chapter, I'd like to quickly show you what we studied in Long's essay. Just a minute. Do we have another mouse in this class? No. Does anyone have a mouse in their bag? Okay. So, a quick reminder simply to you what we have studied in this class, for example. So, Priscilla begins with her assertion that in America and around the world, we are living in grim times, sad times, difficult times. And then she explains with examples. Then she poses questions. Is happiness possible? Should we even wish for happiness? And this is the whole essay does. She answers this question. Is happiness possible? And she says, yes, happiness is possible. We can be happy. We can achieve happiness. And then she defines happiness. What is happiness? Three kinds of happiness she defines. A pleasant life, good life, and then a third type, meaningful life. Then she raises the question, what makes me happy? And she answers this question throughout the essay. Particularly toward the end of the essay, she answers what things make her happy. Then she says that happiness is living a highly moral life, a life with moral standards. She considers the moral and ethical issues with happiness. And then she says that we can be happy if we lead ethical life, right? Then she talks about the three kinds of happiness: pleasant life, good life, meaningful life. And then she talks about what is happiness for her. For example, she says what good things she does that bring happiness to her. Then she talks about Bhutan's case, and she discusses in detail how Bhutan measures its gross national happiness score, where they consider good health, psychological health, spirituality, meditation, historical literacy, civic literacy, cultural literacy, ecological literacy. These are some of the things that Bhutan considers to measure how happy its people are. But then she raises the question that Bhutan is not a happy country because Bhutan is practicing ethnic conflict and ethnic cleansing. And she shows that the root thing for happiness is ethics. If a living a morally standard life, good life, then you can be happy, otherwise you can't be happy. Then she talks about the annual World Happiness Report, Global Happiness Council, which says that economic prosperity brings happiness, decent work for all brings happiness, physical mental health brings happiness, freedom to make your decisions makes happiness, strong and vibrant social network brings happiness, shared public values bring happiness, social trust brings happiness, and confidence in business and government is what brings happiness. Then she moves on and she quotes Grayson Rubins, who talks about clutter and unhappiness, and she says that if we keep our houses clean, properly organized, if we don't buy a lot of things that we don't know, we don't need, if we live in spare, then if we live in well nice rooms which we decorate clean, that is what happiness is. Then she talks about money and happiness. Then she talks about money and happiness, right? She says that money is needed. I agree, because if you don't have money, then every need becomes a pain. Every desire becomes painful when you don't have money. Then she says that yes, being poor is miserable, but she says that money is important. I agree, but money is not everything for happiness. What is needed? People are needed to make you happy. Society is needed to make you happy. Ethics is needed to make you happy. Morality is needed to make you happy. So only money alone cannot make us happy. Then she moves on to talking about America, and she says that America today is having crisis. For example, Americans are suffering with three things, she says. What are they? They are suffering from obesity, substance misuse, opioid. Then she discusses each of them, why this is happening. She discusses government and politics, how that is responsible for these problems. And then she talks about personal happiness again. She talks about personal happiness. She says that going outdoor into nature can make us happy. Then she talks about time affluence. She says that if you have time to enjoy and appreciate, that is what brings us happiness. And she says we should not be too busy in our day-to-day life, right? And okay. Then she says Americans are not happy today because they work long, crazy long hours, and they work from home. They don't take enough leaves. They are so busy that even in the office they eat in front of the laptop screen. They eat while working. They don't spare time for eating. They work under tight deadlines. And she says that American workplaces are very taxing. They work at high speed under tight deadlines. There is too little time to do a lot of work, right? So their workplace is unpleasant, hazardous, right? And she says that working conditions are hostile and threatening. Then she relates it to her own life, and she says that I'm also quite busy working. I also sometimes do chronic overwork that is harmful for me. She is author, teacher of writing. She works, and she says that happiness is having choice and time. If you have choices in life, if you have time, that is what brings happiness. Then she talks about herself. She's 75 years old, still she's working, right? She says, I also work chronic overwork, and that is not a good thing. Then she talks about our attitude. Should we be grumpy or should we be grateful? She says that sometimes being grumpy is necessary, particularly when you see bad things happening, you should stand against them, you should criticize them. Then she says that happiness is about truthfulness. If you speak truth, then you can be happy. Then she says happiness is raising questions if necessary. Happiness is having real connection with real people, right? Happiness, she says that, is consciously raising your happiness level. She talks about the happiness advantage. What is happiness advantage? if you have this habit of insisting to be happy consciously, I'll be happy, then this may help you to remain happy, she says. Then she talks about optimism. She says that if you develop positive attitude, if you are positive, that can bring happy. If you are hopeful, that can bring us happiness, right? Then she quotes Barbara Enrich's views on optimism, right? And then she says that, yes. She says happiness is improving social conditions, improving our own life conditions, and facing reality and working to change the reality. Happiness is paying attention to personal feelings, right? Happiness is not ignoring your feelings of anger and despair. Pay attention to how you feel, right? Happiness is being hopeful, right? Then she talks about positive psychology, where she talks about status quo, and particularly she talks about self-contentment, being satisfied with what you have. But she criticizes status quo, and she says that we should oppose inequality in society, we should oppose abuse of power, right? So personal contentment with things as they are, that can bring happiness, but she doesn't support this idea. Then she says that I join protest marches in society because I'm aware of my civic duty. I have, as a citizen, it's my duty to oppose injustice and abuse of power and all social evils. Then she says that happiness is more than feeling or sweet moment. What is happiness? Happiness is living in a way that fulfills the purpose of life. So whose life is happy? They have those who have a purpose in their life. We have a purpose and we want to achieve that. That is what happiness brings. Then she talks about happiness and love. So does love bring happiness? She says yes, love brings happiness, but not every love brings happiness. For example, she says that what kind of love brings happiness? Then she says that for example, affection brings happiness, tenderness brings happiness, but obsession can't bring happiness. Because if you have obsessive desire for something, that brings agony, that brings misery, that brings craving, delirium, delusion, that's not good. So such a love can't bring happiness. What brings happiness is listening to one another, knowing that people are there to help you, right? This is what brings happiness. Then she moves on to, again, Bhutanese community. She talks about Bhutanese community. I won't go there in detail right now. Then she talks about what can make cities happy. Like, for example, walkability, bikeability, pedestrian spaces, safe and secure areas, greenery, parks, urban landscape. Then she says that there should be more trees in the cities, bike lanes, pedestrian paths. And then she talks about what may make us unhappy. Like if in a city bad things are happening, injustice is taking place, incarceration, shooting, beating, torture is happening, police is doing bad things, then this can't make us happy, right? And she gives the example of Anthony Ray, who was put in jail for 30 years for no crime. Then she says something very important here, bringing example of Anthony Ray. For example, what is happiness? Attitude in any given circumstances, to choose one's own way. There are circumstances, they are odd. Your circumstances are very difficult, but you choose that nothing will affect me. You choose to be happy. You choose to do good. You choose to be happy. So what is happiness? Happiness is not allowing your situation to overpower you. Then she further defines happiness, and she says that Happiness is mindfulness. What is that? Being less reactive, not reacting to what people do to you, taking moments to breathe, and then being present to the here and now, practicing self-compassion, compassion for others, self-reflection, right? Not becoming angry, not being upset, not having infatuation for someone, not feeling irritated, not showing fear, and not allowing circumstances to take over your soul. That is what can make us happy. Then she says that even if you are sad, please remember that nothing is unending. Your suffering will come to an end. Your grief will pass away. Your life and happiness will come back. Right? Life can be filled with suffering, but there are wonders like blue sky, sunshine, eyes of a baby, talk to babies. They might make you happy. Right? So what is happiness? To be part of something larger than yourself. For example, she is a teacher. She says, I study literature, I am a writer, so I keep writing, I teach writing, right? I teach creativity to my students. That is what makes me happy. Then she says that happiness is inner state of mind, right? Happiness is being courageous. Nothing can break your heart. Happiness is having self-respect, self-worth, sense of self-worth. Happiness is consciously choosing to be happy. Happiness is helping the world to be a good place. Happiness is cultivating peace of mind. Happiness is cultivating kindness. Happiness is cultivating compassion. Happiness is cultivating respect for others, respect for the earth, environment. Happiness is trying to increase the happiness of your community. Happiness is making others happy. This is what we studied in the previous class. I quickly recaptured, and I could see many of you were talking and you were not listening to me. It's up to you. If you choose to not to listen to teacher, fine. You're paying 1 million rupees to be here, and if you consciously choose not to listen to teacher, it's fine. If you consciously choose not to pay attention, I can do nothing. I was just recapturing what we did in the class in the previous some days. Now we enter the next chapter, next unit. That is intercultural communication. We have a text taken from this book. Let's move to communicating interculturally, becoming competent. I'll quickly read this text. We can rarely see things from the point of view of another person. See, what is good communication? Seeing things from the point of view of another person. For example, I scold you right now, I said you're not paying attention. Now if I look from a point of view, I will say, oh, this teacher is speaking so fast. Oh, this teacher is lecturing for last 20 minutes. Oh, this teacher is telling a lot of things within a short time. It is boring. Now I realize why you were talking. So what is effective communication? Looking at things from other people's perspective. I just imagined that I'm you. And I said, why I was talking? Because Dibakar sir was teaching very fast. Because Dibakar sir was running through pages. Because Dibakar sir was lecturing. Because Dibakar sir was not talking to us. Because Dibakar sir was not interacting with us. Because Dibakar sir was not making us active. So I was talking in the class. I imagined I'm you. Now I understand why you were not listening to me earlier. That is what effective communication is. Viewing things from the point of view of another person. Because we look at the facts through the screen of an impression or an interest which distorts. Look, we have bias. We have an attitude. When we look at things from our viewpoint, we may not properly understand it, right? Then read. Okay, there are the obstacles to cross-cultural communication. What is cross-cultural understanding? In today's global world, you will go to foreign country probably in future to study or get a job. And in foreign country, you will see people with many other countries and other cultures. In your office, 10 people from 10 countries, 7 continents might be there. There can be an African, there can be an Asian, there can be a Japanese, there can be an Australian, there can be an American, there can be British. So how will you communicate with them? So cross-cultural communication is a person from one culture having conversation with person from another culture, right? And this has problems. This has problems. That's why we are going to read a chapter which discusses what is cross-cultural communication. Here is a line I want to read here. Okay. The fish only knows that it lives in the water after it is already on the river bank. You will understand culture when you leave Nepal. And when you go to Dubai, for example. The moment you start living in Saudi Arabia, you will know what is culture. Because you will see the difference. A fish knows the value of water or meaning of water when it comes out. In the water, it hasn't seen outside world. So if you want to learn about culture, first leave your country. Travel. Leave your place. Go to other places, other towns, other cities. In Nepal also. And then you will see the culture. The fish only knows that it lives in the water after it is already on the river bank without our awareness of another world. Out there, it would never occur to us to change. We will never change unless we are aware about the other. We will never change unless we are aware about the other. एक के भने एकजना मान्छे दिनभरि ट्रेनमा गाडीमा जर्नी गराउनु भयो अनि बेलुका 11:30 भयो भन्नुभयो के गाह्रो भयो सोद्धाखेरि दिनभरि यसरी बस्नु पर्यो भन्नुभयो किन त्यसरी बस्नु पर्यो भनेको छेउको सिटमा मुस्लिम हुनुहुन्थ्यो भन्नुभयो अनि उहाँलाई त्यो मुस्लिमसँग टच गर्ने मन लागेन छ अनि दिनभरि त्यो मुस्लिमसँग छोइन्छ भनेर यसरी बस्नु भएको छ होल डे बसमा ट्राभल गर्दाखेरि अनि घर आएर चाहिँ बडा राहत फिल गर्नुभयो के अब के भयो त उहाँले त मुस्लिममा के देख्नुभयो अदर देख्नुभयो द्याट्स नट अ गुड थिङ द्याट्स नट अ गुड थिङ त्यो हुनु हुँदैन त्यो हामीले त्यसो गर्नु हुँदैन आई ब्रट अ रियल एक्जाम्पल फ्रम अ लाइफ एक्सपिरियन्स आई सॉ समवन सेइङ दिस थिङ टु मी राइट सो be aware about the another people, another society, another world, then you will change. Okay, we won't read this thing, we'll directly go to the essay now. The essay that we are going to read in our course is, yes, a model of intercultural communication competence. So, we are going to read about intercultural communication. What is intercultural communication? A Japanese, an Indian, a Saudi, and an American, if they are on a negotiation table, this is intercultural communication. Having a talk or discussion or sharing with people from another culture. Why that is important? Because when cultures differ, the way people do things also differ. Right? When cultures differ, the way people do things also differs. Now, this is a very intense essay, research, writing type of essay. Let me also focus on the word competence. What is competence? Competence is your ability to do something in a proper way. For example, I have average English speaking competence. I can speak English so that people understand me. I have competence to teach you. I have competence to teach you. Some of you girls may have competence to make food, for example, if you cook at home. Some of the boys, for example, that guy has very good competence, athletic competence. He plays game. What game do you play? Karate. He has that athletic competence, right? So what is competence? Our ability to do something in the right way, in the proper way. I have competence to ride a motorcycle. I am competent. I hold a license. But I am not competent to drive a car. If you put me behind the steering wheel, there will be an accident. Because I don't know how to drive. But I know how to ride. Competent. Okay, let's read. So, look, I will not only teach you the essay, I will also emphasize how to read. The world we live in is shrinking. This is the opening sentence, right? Okay. This is a paragraph. This is a paragraph, right? What is this? Paragraph. Now this is topic sentence. This is topic sentence. And this is topic. The world we live in. This is the topic. Is shrinking. This is the controlling idea. This is the controlling idea. Now what is controlling idea? Idea that controls your writing. Idea on which you focus in the paragraph. Now, this sentence can also be called as, what do you call it? Main idea. If that sentence is main idea, the rest of the paragraph we call as what do we call it? Supporting detail. Rest of the paragraph we call as supporting detail. Now let's quickly read and understand how this essay is written and how we read. Okay, the world we live in is shrinking. The world is shrinking. Now we will see examples of how the world is shrinking. For example, see, detail 1. Detail 1. Travel that once took months now takes hours. Shrinking. In the past, going to Saudi Arabia took years. You had to walk. Now it takes hours. Shrinking. See that is shrinking. Then business dealings that were once confined primarily to local economies has given way to an extensively integrated world economy. The world has come together. The world has come together. Shrinking. Information that once traveled through error-prone and time-consuming methods now appears in the blink of an eye across a wide range of media. You click the internet and you get the information. Now shrinking. People in virtually all locations of the globe are more mobile than ever and more likely to traverse into cultures different from their own. Again shrinking. People are going to many places. Shrinking. They are coming to many places. Shrinking. Literally and figuratively, the walls that separate us are tumbling down. Now China, you can go to China without paying visa fee, for example. China has allowed Nepalese people to go to China without paying visa fee. Now it's easier, right? Look, for example. So walls are crumbling. Though we may not have fully become global village. In Sanskrit, in Veda, you read this sentence. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Vasudha. Vasudha means the earth. Kutumba means family. Our Vedas say, long ago they said, that the whole world is a family. The whole world is a family. Global village. Okay. Though we may not have fully become a global village, there is no denying that the various cultures of the world are far more accessible than ever before. Look, right now my son is in America, your family members may be Australia, Saudi, Kuwait, Japan. We are easily going to many countries and experiencing life in different cultures, right? Than before, and that the people of these cultures are coming into contact and at an ever increasing rate. In Nepal, you can see a lot of foreigners in the city if you go around Asan, Kathmandu or any places. These contacts ultimately comprise interpersonal encounter. Now look, how this, see, up to here, this is background to the topic. This is background. And from here, these contacts ultimately comprise interpersonal encounter. This is narrowing down the topic. Narrowing down the topic. Whether it is the negotiation of an arms treaty or the settlement of a business contract or merely a sojourner getting directions from a native, cultures do not interact, people do. See the end of the paragraph. Who interacts? People interact. So you will see this last part. This is the focus of the essay. And this is general opening. General opening. An essay may open with a general remark on the topic, and then it will narrow down and it will focus on exact topic. For example, here the writer focusing on people's interaction. What are they focusing on? People's interaction. And you will see the title of this essay, A Model of Intercultural Communication. So this essay will focus on how people from different cultures communicate and what problems they face. So as I explained you, the paragraph, as I showed you, the paragraph begins with a topic sentence that has a topic, and then it has a controlling idea. This sentence is known as, what do we call it? Main idea. The rest of the paragraph, they supply what? Details. And I said these are what details? General details. And then I said this is narrowing the focus. Narrowing the focus. तिमीले फोटो खिच्दाखेरि पनि त पहिला क्यामेरा तेर्साउँछौ अनि त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ त्यो फेस देख्यो भने क्यामेराले बक्स ल्याउँछौ न येलो, अनि तिमी जसलाई फोकस गर्नुपर्छ त्यहाँ लान्छौ नि क्यामेरा. एक क्लासमा खिच्यो भने तिमीले को साथीले खिच्दै त्यही त्यतातिर फोकस लान्छौ नि. फर्स्ट होल क्लास देखिन्छ, क्लास होल देखियो, जनरल आइडिया, अनि फोकस हुन्छ नि. सो जनरल आइडिया एन्ड देन फोकस. वाट इज द फोकस? वन्स अगेन फेरि एकचोटि फोकसलाई हेरौँ त. वाट द फोकस? These contacts means the ones that he's talking about. These contacts They comprise interpersonal encounters. One person contracting, talking to another person. Whether it is negotiation and of arms treaty, you're selling bombs, for example, to a country, and you have a table talk how to deal, or whether it is business contract, whether you're asking directions. So what is it? Cultures do not interact. Who interacts? People interact. So this essay is about how people interact. This essay is about how people interact. Because if you understand how people from different cultures interact as a manager in future in a foreign country, for example, you will have people from different countries working under you. So you will be in a better position to manage them, for example. Okay, let's move to next paragraph. This essay that you are reading is a very good example of academic writing. It is an example of academic writing. So while I am teaching you the essay, I will also teach you academic writing. While I am teaching the essay, I will also teach you academic writing. And I will teach you how to read. For example, second paragraph. Again, you will have a topic sentence. What will you have a topic sentence? See here. The purpose of this essay is to examine the concept of interactional competence in intercultural context. So, what is happening here? This paragraph presents purpose of the essay. This paragraph presents purpose of the essay. And what is their purpose? Number one, to examine the concept of interactional competence. This essay will discuss the concept of what? Interactional competence. Your ability to successfully interact with people from other culture. Your ability to successfully interact with other people. That competence. And second term, see here, there is another word. See the key words. Number one, interactional competence. Number two, intercultural context. Please understand the two words. Interactional competence, what is that? Your ability to successfully communicate with other people. What is interactional competence? Your ability to successfully have a conversation with people who may be from another culture. Second term is intercultural context. What is context? Context is where you are. Right now I am in BBIS class. When you are, May 16th around 9 o'clock. Who is there? Teacher. Who else is there? Students. What is happening? A class is running on. What's going on? The teacher is explaining an essay. Right? This is context. This is context. Now, what is intercultural context? Right now, for example, the Lancha is a Rai, so he comes from Rai culture. Right? He is a Newar, so he comes from Newar culture. I am a Brahmin, so I come from Brahmin culture. Right? Do we have somebody from Tarai here? Somebody from Tarai? Okay. So she might be coming from a Madhesi culture. She might be aware about Madhesi culture, for example. Which part of Tarai? Bhairava. Okay. So what is culture? Culture is, let's say, how groups of people behave, or how groups of people do things. How groups of people do things. And interculture, see the two words. Interculture, between one and another culture. Between one culture and another culture. Do you speak Bhojpuri? Little bit? बुझ्छु हमारा के बड़ा बढ़िया वाला बतिया हुआ ना हम तो भोजपुरी बतिया बड़ा कितना बतिया ले भोजपुरी में हम हमके कैसे वाला मालूम बा तो हम रहे गोरखपुर में हम 20 वर्ष रहनी वहाँ तो ऐसे आवल हमरा के भोजपुरी look now I know Bhojpuri right lollipop lagelu the Bhojpuri song right you do not know the language but you know the song so songs as you saw songs are best way to exchange culture right he doesn't know that Bhojpuri but he knows lollipop lagelu jila top lagelu lollipop lagelu jila top lagelu culture Bhojpuri culture Madesi culture Newari culture Rai culture Gurung culture right okay so in this essay we will read how people from one culture have conversation and interactions with people from other culture. Okay, let's read ahead. So, this is the topic sentence, right? Now move ahead. For the purpose of this essay, intercultural communication, competence is considered very broadly as an impression that behavior is appropriate and effective in context. What is happening? See here. Writer defines a key term. The writer defines a key term. What is he defining? He is defining the term competence. And your job is you note down in your copy. You note down in your copy separately. Because you will have to know this term. What is competence? Read here. What is competence? An impression that behavior is appropriate and effective in a given context. So my behavior in this classroom, if you think that the way I'm doing things in this class is okay, then I have teaching competence. Then I have teaching competence. But if you end up saying, hey, yo sir ke gareko hola as a first पढाउन आएको नयाँ शब्द कस्तो खत्तम के गर्छ केही बुझिएन, now I don't have teaching competence. Because the behavior I showed as you didn't like it. Right? So what is competence once again? What is competence once again? Competence is impression, feeling that what? Someone's behavior is appropriate and effective in a given context. You touch somebody and they get startled. Now that's inappropriate. You touch someone and they get startled and they move away. Clear indication they didn't like your touch. That communication is not competent. You may be arrested for abuse. Right? See. So, it's about behavior. It's about behavior. What kind of behavior? That is acceptable. Behavior that is acceptable. So what is competence? Any behavior which people accept is competence. Any behavior which people accept is competence. Right? Competence is considered to be, read ahead, look, in this paragraph you will see the writer is defining a key word in the essay. What is the key word? Competence. And before he discusses further, he first wants you to understand the key word competence. Then he will talk about communication competence, for example. So let's read ahead. What is competence? Ability or set of skilled behavior. However, any given behavior or ability may be judged competent in one context and incompetent in another context. For example, if I touch him, it's okay. But if I touch her, it's not okay. The same behavior in this context is competent because acceptable behavior. The same behavior in this context, not competent because unacceptable. That's why they tell us, teach but never touch. As a teacher, teach but never touch. We are not supposed to touch our students normally, unless it's urgent. We are never supposed to touch. If I touch a girl student, it's incompetent behavior. It's unacceptable. It might bring a case of harassment. If it is a boy student, it's okay in Nepali context. Maybe in European context, even touching a boy may not be okay. I might be taken as a gay if I constantly touch a boy. For example, yes. If I walk down the road holding hands of a boy, in Europe for example, they will consider me as a gay. Because Americans, Europeans, Westerners normally will not hold hands of another boy while walking. While in Nepal, it's okay. Right? Okay, we stop here now. Who is presenting this essay tomorrow? Raise your hand. 2 people. 2 people. Or let's say, why 2? Let's do one thing. I'll give more people. Let's do one thing. So what you do, someone talks about the introduction up to here. Introduction, who will do? I need people to make presentations on this essay. Roll number 7. Okay, you will introduce the essay. Or you have another presentation? You have another presentation? Or let me know. What were you saying? Huh? Absent unchuma. Okay. 17. Okay, you will introduce the essay. Just introduce. And you will cover up to here only 1 page, and you will focus on this diagram. So what's your name? Aditi? No, she is Aditi. What's your name? Ayusha. So Ayusha will introduce the essay tomorrow. She will cover the first page, this page, and then second page and third page, 3 pages. Okay, roll number 23. Roll number 23. Roll number 23. Okay, roll number 2. Okay, you will present individual system. Roll number 2. Roll number 25. Who is 25? Okay, so 25 2 will present individual system, and 25 will present on episodic system. Second part. So individual system to be presented by roll number 2, episodic system to be presented by roll number 25, and roll number 10. Who is 10? Okay, you will have I given you other presentation? Okay, roll number 15. Okay, you will present 15. You will present relational system. Wait a minute. Okay, roll number 19. You will present conclusion. The conclusion. So, wait a minute. Who is presenting? 1. What's your name? Sanskrit is presenting. What's your name? Biraj is presenting. What's your name? Ayusha is presenting. Delancha is presenting. And who else is presenting this side? Okay, what's your name? Piyush is presenting. So we will have a number of presentations tomorrow. Read it's a 12-page essay. Read, try to understand. If there's difficulty, message me. I'll be available to help you online. Then assign her or somebody, find somebody. If you can't present tomorrow, find somebody to present on a place. Those who can't present, fine. You find someone to replace you. Find someone to replace you. And if you can't find a placement, you will present. And don't bring excuses tomorrow. Thank you. Thank you.